The DOJ and SEC are investigating Democratic critic Elon Musk over allegations of using Tesla funds for building a glass house for personal use. Are they out of their inbred minds? This guy's probably using it for yet another experimentation regarding innovation. Anyway, we have assisting in the opining and analyzing, old friend of the show, James Czerniawski, Senior Policy Analyst in Technology and Innovation at Americans for Prosperity. His work has been featured in U.S. News and World Report, and, of course, plenty of other publications. James, good to have you back. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. So they're going after the second or maybe still the first wealthiest guy on the planet. He's got hundreds of billions. I don't fault him for that. He found a way to tap into market resonance, and lo and behold, he succeeds. At least unlike vulture capitalists like Bill Gates and the guy who heads over the World Economic Forum, he's not teaming up with socialists to try to deny capitalism to everybody else because he doesn't want future competitors. I mean, that's what we do. Capitalism is great. You think you'll agree with me. It's nothing but the creating, selling, and buying of goods and services for the purposes of providing for wants and needs. If I do well, I find market resonance. I'm self-sufficient. If I do so well where I can't keep up with the demand, well, I got to go get help, which manifests itself in expanded employment, which allows there to be that many more people paying that many more taxes to contribute to the Treasury to take care of that many more social safety net programs that we all want in place so that others can have an assisted bite at the prosperity apple, if you will. Elon Musk seems to be all about that, but he has had the temerity, the unmitigated gall, audacity, and lack of fortitude to actually be critical of Democrats, and it strikes me that that's the only reason why the SEC is going after him, or am I being a skosh paranoid? Your take?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question to wonder whether or not there's some politics going and driving some of this. I mean, if you just go and roll back the clock, not even 3-4 years ago, I don't even think anybody would imagine, the Southern District of New York going against Elon Musk when he was at the forefront of the green revolution with the Tesla cars and, doing all this, stuff, right? And then now all of a sudden that he's a little bit more heterodox, as people have learned, unsurprisingly, I think that being critical of Democrats, it certainly has given him some extra scrutiny placed on him. It certainly doesn't help that he is, as you noted, the richest or the second richest person in the world. So there's definitely a very strong incentive to go and get headlines off of, using his name to chase after things that are going on in his companies or his personal life. So, nothing surprising there, really, I think, in many ways. That's why you have to go and run a tight ship, right?
I suppose, but, I mean, the idea of going after him for having the temerity to build a glass house, supposedly with the funds of Tesla, like this guy can't afford to build his own glass house. That's why I'm suspicious of this. I'm pretty sure that he's not using his company's fund to build that which he can afford on his own, but rather, given that it is a glass house, it strikes me that it's an archetypal representation of an innovative experiment or a project to see if something else can work. I'd be very surprised if there's any kind of charges brought, and if they are, well, here's a guy who's got enough money for lawyers where he could rival most small nations. I don't think they're going to get away with any crap. This seems to be mainly just a nuisance attempt. Or, again, am I seeing too much into it?
No, I don't think you're wrong that it's definitely a nuisance thing at a minimum, because every single time one of these investigations is triggered, you're having lawyers have to go and deal with all this stuff. Again, there's no accusation of wrongdoing at this point in time. As you kind of highlighted, this is a structure that was being built that was going to be a glass structure. It was going to be expensive, millions of dollars. But again, there's no actually update on the status of this project. We don't even know if the glass that was being purported to use on this project was even ordered or shipped. So we actually don't know. There was an internal Tesla investigation. Nothing has been known about what the status of that result of that investigation is. So I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns here. But as you kind of rightly point out, I think that it's not unfair to say that this definitely goes and creates a pestering problem for him to have lawyers dealing with this stuff instead of, having to go and focus on building out the companies that he's had that are so successful over the last several years.
This guy is worth anywhere between, I don't know, $250 to $3 billion. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Now, we have to remember something. $1 billion is 1,000 million. Okay.
Yeah.
It takes 1,000 million to equal 1 billion. And he's got between 250 and 300 of those suckers.
Yeah.
Why would he need? What would be? Where's the motive to do wrong in this regard? I mean, to him, whatever you would get out of taking money from Tesla to build this house would be comparable to pin money for this guy. And what that does is it strips away all believable incentive to do wrong, which by default means that the United States government has been weaponized by the Democratic Party, and they're using their place in government to marginalize folks who would have the temerity to criticize them. There's no other explanation. Nobody does this. It's like a billionaire robbing a small-town bank. Why? When he could buy the sucker without any hassle. You know what I'm saying? It just makes zero sense. The circumstances surrounding this stretch credulity to such a snapping point that if it were a rubber band, somebody would wind up losing their eye. Isn't that fair to say?
Absolutely, and I do think that it's completely fair to your point about being worried about the weaponization of these, agencies, whether it's the DOJ with the Southern District of New York or the SEC. Notably, too, not that long ago, you had the FTC going and launching an investigation into Twitter over the way that he was handling the Twitter files. So there's really a lot of material to go with. Elon Musk has certainly also had a pretty contentious relationship with his regulators. Right now he back in 2018 he had a settlement with the SEC. Like I said, he had that Twitter files investigation that's open with the FTC right now. He has investigations going on into the autopilot features of Tesla. He has investigations going on into the effectiveness of the battery range statements that he has for what the Tesla cars can do. So literally, it's just a constant nuisance of things that they're peppering him with. And if it was anything other than the Southern District of New York and what is clearly a pretty radical person in Gary Gensler, who's running the SEC over there, maybe they would have a little bit of a leg to stand on, but there certainly is plenty of reason to be scrutinizing the actions from the federal government here.
What can we do, in your estimation, to hold these folks more accountable? And don't hit me with the word election or I'm going to spit. There's got to be something else, because right now these folks are using their powers of discretion to not prosecute their own violations of law. And yet they turn around and weaponize their positions in law to marginalize those not to their political liking. There has got to be a better approach than this. I mean, if these idiots keep it up, all of a sudden, folks are going to start thinking more seriously about the Second Amendment option. Where am I mistaken?
Yeah, no, I think that you're absolutely right that people should be concerned about this, and we can only hope that Congress can go and hold them accountable via oversight and other kinds of methods between now and the election.
Amen to that. Olivi. James Czerniawski, Senior Policy Analyst in Technology and Innovation at Americans for Prosperity. Always great to have you on board. Folks, you're listening to The Alan Nathan Show right here on the Main Street Radio Network. Stick with us.